expectation of quiet time. Yes. Really, what's happening, reality of quiet time. So what is solo time?
You could call it solo time,
Devo time,
time with the Lord,
quiet time,
solitude,
Bible study, like what are you studying?
devotional.
Oh yes, we should name a devotional book.
Yeah, I had a friend in college who called it time with daddy.
I hate that. No, don't call it time with daddy, it's time with the Lord, your God.
Our God, our Father. So what are we talking about today? Solo time, Devo time, whatever it is that people
Call it.
I don't know, whatever the kids call it these days.
What is a devotional?
So
what is
would
solo
you say?
time?
What would you say it is?
Yeah, I think it's time where you spend out of your day just to be with the Lord. If that's praying, if that's reading the Word, really important. If that's just taking time in solitude and just evaluating your life.
So what does your perfect quiet time look like? Or do you have is it different every time?
I think one good Devo time is consistent. So for me, it's really easy to read through a book of the Bible. So from start to finish. For others, I think sometimes it's a devotional book. My small group, we're going through a Devo, and every day it's day 34 in our Devo book where there's a little blurb. There's a little blurb, and then we write what we got from it. But if you can make it routine, that's helpful. Sometimes a good Devo time for me too is just blasting whatever worship song is what's moving in my heart right now and just spending time to soak in that time. We don't have worship in person maybe, but you can still have that time just letting those words sink in as it's blasting. My neighbors are probably like, wow, she really loves Jesus.
So alive. The wind goes loose.
in my apartment by myself.
So I think you mentioned something, consistency, a routine is super important. I think when we start to develop a habit, sometimes it's not easy. I heard an analogy sometimes compared to this is they ask you what'd you eat for dinner 2 weeks ago? And you're like, I don't know, but then they ask you what'd you eat for dinner on your birthday, on your 18th birthday, and you remember that meal because it's oh, we went to this restaurant that's a really fancy restaurant, we had this meal that's a special meal, and it's a lot of times that's your quiet time where you need to eat every single day to survive. You may not remember all your meals, you may not remember all of your quiet times or your time alone with God, but you remember the really good ones, and you remember the time where God spoke to you in such an incredible way. And that's kind of it. You need it every single day to survive. Okay, so what would you say if somebody is watching and they're like, what's a quiet time? I've never even heard that. I go to church, is that enough? Or somebody's never opened their Bible before, or they have no clue where to start.
Yeah, I think a huge part of Christianity is that you have a relationship with God. You have a relationship with Jesus. And if you had a relationship with someone, you can't just go to church, once a week, go to church and just find him there because someone else is telling you about them. But it's something that you have to have a conversation every day with them. You have to make time with them. If I just have a relationship with my husband, I just was oh, I saw you once a week and that's it. But instead, not spending time to actually with each other. That's why we have solo time, is to build that relationship.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting when you read through the Gospels and you read about Jesus' life. Jesus' life models for us how we're supposed to live. And even God himself, all-powerful, all-knowing, he probably didn't need a refreshment like we do, but he chose to get up before anyone else. And says when it was really early in the morning, he would get up and spend time with his Father. And I think that is just the ultimate, if we ask why do we need it, is it even worth it? Jesus himself, God himself in the flesh, models for us that if we want to do this life well, it is with that consistent communion, time alone with God.
Here are some tips that you should do to help your quiet time. 1,
Turn off your phone.
honestly, such a good advice.
If you're no, my phone's my Bible, get a physical Bible. I think there's something so powerful when you're flipping through, having to see physically. You're like, and you start to notice like when you highlight, underline, something like that. Like there's something about a physical Bible that is so different than being on your phone.
Tip number 2, get accountability. Tell a friend, read through a book of the Bible with a friend. Tell your small group leader that you want accountability in this so she can ask you every day, every week, hey, how's it going? I think that's helped me so many times, like really building that consistency.
Yeah, me and my small group, we do a plan on the Bible app together. So we will read through, we just finished a 1-year Bible plan that read through the New Testament, the Psalms, and the Proverbs in 1 year. When you're reading something together, there's that accountability, and there's also like just like the growing together. Like if I don't understand something, I can, ask questions, or I could say like, this really stood out to me. What stood out to you? And it's just like, it's so cool when you do it together.
And number 3.
Reach out. If you don't know where to start or what quiet time even looks like, ask your small group leader, ask Ashley or I. We would love to point you in the right direction. Where to read, what could be a good direction for you.
Start with Leviticus.
Don't start. I actually love Leviticus. I took Old Testament.
If you're not sure what Leviticus is, don't start with Leviticus.
Yeah. But there's so many different ways that quiet time could work for you, but just the most important thing is just bringing back to the what is quiet time? It's just time that you get to grow in your relationship with God, and that in itself has the power to change your life. And we totally believe that, and which is why we think it is so important for each of us to spend time with God.
Yeah.